Hi, this is Mark with the Mongoose development team. Today we're going to talk about the Application Event System, or the AES. This video uses the exercises from videos 4.3 and 4.4 of the Mongoose Fundamentals video series. We're going to first walk through how to use the AES to generate an automated Mongoose notification to a manager when an issue has been logged with a certain severity. Then we're going to show how to generate and send an email to a manager when an issue has been logged with a certain severity. We want this email to be sent if the issue was logged from either the application itself or a consumer portal version of our app. Before we start, let's talk about what the Application Event System is and what we can do with it. With it, we can modify application processes and policies without having to modify app code, and in many cases without having to write code at all. We can gain control of the application flow and augment it without making calls to the app with APIs. And because the events and handlers are contained within metadata, you're protected during upgrades and in a multi-dev environment. The AES is made up of three parts: events, event handlers, and event actions. Events are typically generated when a user does something like saves a record or presses a button. The event handler watches for a certain event, and when it sees it, it responds with an event action. There are two different types of events: form events and application events. Form events operate within a single form and use the Mongoose client event system. These operations take place on the client side. Application events can affect multiple forms and applications. These take place on the server side. We could use application events to run a scheduled inventory check and order items automatically based on the results. Application events can either be framework events or programmatic events. Framework events are predefined by Infor and are generated by actions like adding or deleting a record. These are useful because we can create event handlers that respond to these framework events. Programmatic events, on the other hand, are defined by the developer through application code and are generated by user actions or system triggers. These triggers can be time, calculation, or condition-based. For example, we could generate an event when a currency amount is exceeded. We could also generate events based on external apps or web services. Open the Events form and take it out of Filter in Place mode. Select the event named IDO on item insert. We can tell this is a framework event by the checkbox, and the description says that this event is generated when an IDO inserts a row. We can see which event handlers are watching for this event by clicking the button. We have one event handler that I've made that's watching for this event. Click the Event Actions button, and we can see some of the actions that we can assign to our event handler. Okay, let's take a look at the workflow for the example we're going to build. A customer or employee logs an issue using either the portal version of the Issues form or the Issues form in our Mongoose app. An event is generated when an issue is added. The event handler responds by creating a notification, then it sends it to the tech support manager. Let's get started building this. We're assuming that you have some user IDs set up for all the people involved on your system, which includes a customer to log an issue from the portal, an employee to log an issue from the app, and at least one user that we can designate as a tech support manager to receive the notification. Note that if we hard-code a user ID for the tech support manager and they go on vacation or leave the company, we'd have to manually change the user ID. And if they were set up to receive other notifications, we'd have to change the user IDs in those places too. To plan ahead for these kind of situations, let's set up a global constant. Open the Event Global Constants form and take it out of Filter in Place mode, and we can create a new constant named Tech Support MGR. In the value field, type in the user ID of the user that has the appropriate permissions for the tech support manager. Note that this is a Mongoose user ID from the users form. You can have multiple values in here, just separate them by semicolons. Save the form. Now let's create the event handler that will respond to the event that's triggered when an issue is logged. Open the Events form, select the IDO Post Item Insert event again. Click the Event Handlers button, and in the Applies to Objects field, designate an IDO collection. This lets Mongoose know that we only want this event handler to be concerned with records saved in this particular IDO collection. Now we need to assign an action for this event handler. Click the Event Actions button, then from the Action Type dropdown, select Notify. Click the Edit Parameters button, and we can designate who to notify and what to say in our notification. Click the To button, and since we want to designate a global object, we'll need to drill down further by clicking the Recipients button. In the Function dropdown, select GC for Global Constant. Then in the Arguments dropdown, you should see the Tech Support Manager Global Constant that we just made. Click OK to get back to the form, and we see our recipient correctly formatted. Now we can enter a subject if we want and some body text for the notification. I'll click OK, and on the Event Actions form, click the Check Syntax button to make sure we don't have any errors. Save, and we're good to go. Now when a new row is added to the IDEO collection we designated, an event will be generated. The event handler that's listening for the event will respond by sending a notification to the Tech Support Manager. Well, let's say that our Tech Support Manager also wants to be emailed when an issue is logged that's labeled Severe or Emergency. We still want to handle the IDEO Post-Item Insert Framework event that's generated when someone saves a record to the collection. So on the Events form, select that event and click the Event Handlers button. Remember that we can assign more than one action to an event handler, so we can just add another action to this existing event handler. Click Event Actions and add a second action. We want this action type to be Send Email. Click Edit Parameters, then click Condition, click Expression 1, and in the Function dropdown, we can select Property, then set our Severity IDEO property below. Set the operator to greater than, then in the Expression 2 edit, type the number 2, which is the severity high. Anything greater than this, 3 which is severe and 4 which is emergency, will satisfy our condition. Click OK, and in the To field we want to specify our Tech Support Manager global constant just like we did for the notification. I'll enter a subject, then we can move on to the body of our email. Click the Body button, then select the Substitute function. I find this is easier to first write it in a text editor and then we can paste it into the edit box. Issue Severity Alert. Issue number 0 in curly brackets has been created with a severity of 1 in curly brackets, customer : 2 in curly brackets, description : 3 in curly brackets. Now we'll need to delete the line return so we can paste this into the argument 1 field. We have 4 reference markers and curly brackets within our body, so we'll need to create 4 arguments. Click Build Expression, and we want to designate an IDEO property here. The first argument is the IDEO property Issue ID. The second is the IDEO property Severity. The third argument is the Customer Name IDEO property. And the fourth is the Description IDEO property. Click OK to get back to the Event Actions form and check our syntax. Save, and we're done. But notice that when we get our email, it isn't formatted very nicely and the numeric values for our severity is shown instead of the words severe or emergency. Let's fix that by using some substitutions. With our event action still selected, click Show Details and we can make our line returns directly on here. Save, and we can fix those numeric values showing up in our email. With the event action still selected, click Edit Parameters, then click Body. Select the severity argument and click Build Expression. We want an if function, then click the Condition button and we can set up our condition. Click Expression 1 and select the IDEO property, Severity. Click OK. Is equal to 3, which is the severity severe. If that's true, we want to display the word severe, so type that in the argument 2 field. And if the condition is false, display the word emergency, which is what we want to type in the argument 3 field. All done. Now the manager will receive an email formatted with line returns and will display the severity rather than the numeric value for the severity when someone logs an issue. Well, we still need to send the manager an email when an existing issue has its severity changed to severe or emergency. We're out of time for this video, but setting that up is identical to what we just did, except for the form event that we need to handle. When the new issue is logged, the event IDO post item insert is generated. We set up our event handler to watch for that event. When an existing issue is changed, the form event named IDO post item update is generated. All you have to do is follow the same procedure, but handle that event instead. Before we wrap up, I wanted to make sure to mention that we can check the box in the event action send email form that reads body is in HTML format. This gives us the opportunity to work some HTML magic and make the email look really nice. For more tutorials like this and documentation, visit the Mongoose portal. For support, go to Infor Extreme, and if you have general questions or comments for us, email mongoose@infor.com. This is Mark Ellison with the Mongoose Development Team. Thanks for watching.